Okay, here we are. Another short and punchy video, but I think I enjoy these because I'll read something or I'll watch something and I really need to get it down on my page so that I can sort of start to process it. You know the deal. I'll just notice my babies up there. Hello, YouTube. Um, and this is really sort of more moving on from maybe previous videos that I've done. And it was a question around compassion. I was using compassion as a model that I'm trying to build, the pillars of peace, which I've spoken about. And on top of that, we have compassion and then acceptance and that kind of thing. But something came back to compassion for me fairly recently. I was listening to Marianne Williamson who was talking about this. And she basically mentioned she was talking to somebody in the audience and asking them about the things that they do and how, one of the ladies in the audience said she was a bit concerned about the situation in the world at the moment, and it's very difficult sometimes to be compassionate. You look at things that have gone by, things like 9/11, things like the tsunami were mentioned. And I think Marianne's response was pretty good because she said, in terms of the tsunami and in terms of 9/11, she said what we noticed was the world came together in a very compassionate way. Millions of dollars of kit and equipment went to help the people in the tsunami, and also people were giving blood on the street in where during 9/11, and so you could see there's an overwhelming global response, and that was absolutely correct and absolutely fantastic as to how people were supported. But she said the more interesting picture was, although these things were catastrophic in terms of those communities, she said there were catastrophic things going on before 9/11 and before the tsunami, and actually after 9/11 and after the tsunami. And yet, it does seem sometimes that the compassionate response doesn't happen in the same way. And that's not to say that we have to have these big disasters to be compassionate, but it almost seems like compassion is convenient at times. It just seems that way, and it really struck me is we spend hundreds of millions of pounds or dollars in America on defense budgets and things like that, and yet there are people dying in the street in abject poverty all around us, a kind of a broken communities as well wherever you look. So it seems as though there's something missing here, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to work it out in my mind, where we are compassionate and where we're not. And I think for me personally, it's got to be more. It can only be at a very local level to begin with. I think, if you get to this idea that if you are compassionate yourself on any given day, then that can be infectious, as the poem I like called "The Smile" goes. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. Somebody smiled at me today. I started smiling too. So it kind of, I like the idea of compassion being infectious too. So I think, when you look at web pages such as the Random Act of Kindness and those kind of ideas, then, at a very local level, I think that's where we can start to build on this. A very difficult one, I know, from a global perspective, because people don't seem to be that interested. Here in the UK, we're just about to go into another general election. And I was discussing that at dinner, and I was just saying, well, people are quite tired with this. And I don't mean I'm not political in any way, but I just think, if there was somebody who came along and said, you know what, actually, I want to tell the truth and I want to help people, then they might get a few more votes. Who's to know? But I think that the compassion thing about a convenient is something that we can work on every day. So I certainly am going to go down that route and look at it. I encourage anybody and everybody to try and do the same. And then who knows? We could be the people who who are being voted for in the future. But it was quite an interesting perspective actually today. So I just wanted to get that on the page.